Welcome students for another class on cost accounting. In the previous class, I had discussed a problem. So in this class, we will solve it. Before we head into the problem, I'll just brief you on the types of problem you can encounter in your exam. So pay attention. First type of problem is where you have to find the primary distribution of overhead. Then you have secondary distribution. That means you do primary distribution. Wherever there are service departments, those overhead will go back to the primary department, which are production department. So such type of problem is called secondary distribution. Then you have problems where you have to find out recovery rate or overhead rate. That is third. And fourth type of problem is you have to calculate whether there is an under recovery or over recovery, and if it is there, then what is the accounting treatment you have to give. So we will discuss all four types of problem in today's class. Let's start. So this is the problem which we had. So this is the problem which we had taken last week. Just pause for a minute and then read the problem once again. So now I have represented the problem in a table. Let us start with understanding the problem. You have various types of expenses. These are all nothing but indirect expenses. So these are all overhead. Then they have given the amount. What is the rate or amount of these overhead? To do apportion, you should know on what basis it has to be apportioned. For example, let us take first, which is rent. So the basis for apportioning the rent is area. Next is repair. Repair is plant value. For depreciation, plant value. Again, lighting, if you have light points, you can take that. Otherwise, area. Supervision, number of workers for supervision. Insurance, stock value. ESI, wages. And for power, it is horsepower of the plant. So this basis, you practice at least 10-15 types of basis. That is very, very important. I will leave in the description a link of various types of basis so that you can practice. This is the first step. Next step is apportioning to different production centers. So let us start with rent. Rent is 6,000. So 6,000, of this 6,000, how much should go to P1? For that, you have this detail. So in this table, the basis is area. Hence, you have to refer to only this detail, that is area square feet. First, what you should do, you total this. So the total is 1,200 square feet, out of which this occupies 400 square feet. The ratio of 400 divided by 1,200 should be allotted here. So this is 2,000 rupees which you will get. For examination, remember, you have to calculate almost 25 to 30 workings. So to simplify this, I have a trick. So here you have the calculator. So make sure this is a standard calculator which is permitted in the exam. What you should do is 6,000 has to be apportioned. So take 6,000 divided by, take the total 1,200. What you get? 5. So press M plus. So this is in your memory. Now it is very simple. Next step, take 400 into memory recall 2000. Next for P2, take 300 into memory recall 1500. So likewise, take another 2-3 minutes, pause the video here and fill this table. I hope you were all able to solve this. I have solved it in the table. So this is the second step. Now we have apportioned these overhead expenses to different overhead production centers. Now what you have to do is just total each column. When you total it, whatever the amount you are getting, this is nothing but the overhead apportioned to this production center, in this case P1. Likewise, calculated the total for all the production center and you can write your conclusion. The total overhead apportioned across 5 centers are tabulated above. Let's go to the second problem. So pause here for a minute and read the problem statement. Now I'll break it down. What is there in this problem? You have to find out factory overhead amount which is applied. How it has to be applied? It has to be applied based on the 45% of direct labor cost. But direct labor cost nowhere given in the problem. So you have to first calculate direct labor. That is your first step. To calculate direct labor, you have manufacturing cost. You have to calculate direct labor cost. How do I do it? So let us start writing the statement of cost sheet. It starts with your direct material, direct labor, direct expense. This is equal to prime cost plus manufacturing overhead. You will get manufacturing cost. The problem states the problem has already given manufacturing cost, which is 339,165. So I have to back calculate to calculate the manufacturing overhead. Direct material is not directly given. So they have given raw material, closing stock, opening stock and purchase. In the cost sheet, you have to always calculate the material which is utilized. So that means opening minus closing plus purchase. This will be opening is 11,570. So this is the direct material cost. Now in this problem, I do not know direct labor. I do not know manufacturing overhead. But indirectly what is given? Manufacturing overhead or factory overhead is 45% of direct labor cost. This I will take it as X. This I will take it as 0.45X. You have to add direct material plus X plus 0.45X. You will get 3,39,165. When you solve for X, you will get X is equal to 1,44,500. Therefore, manufacturing overhead is 0.45 times manufacturing overhead. You will get as 65,025. This is a type 2 problem where you have to find out the overhead amount. Let's go to next type of method. So pause here for a minute, read the problem statement, then I'll explain what is this problem about. Okay, if you have read the problem, let's proceed. So here you have material, labor, wages, etc. Here also you've been given the same information. Then what is they are asking? Calculate the overhead chargeable to the job by 4 commonly used methods. So if you read the problem, here you have the total overhead charge to the department. This you can apportion to this department on different bases. Those different bases or methods are given here. That is based on material, based on wages, based on labor hours, based on machine hours. So if we take based on material, if you have to calculate, you have to charge 25,000 into some factor. What is that factor? 6,000 divided by 36,000. So you have material related data on the both side. You calculate this. You will get 4166. So this also you can represent in terms of percentage. You convert this into percentage, which is 69%, 69.44%. So this is a method based on material used. Second method is based on direct wages. In this principle, what you are going to do? You have to take 25,000 and use these two data. 25,000 multiplied by 4950 divided by 30,000. 4,123. This is second method. Third method is based on labor hours. Pause for a second and attempt to calculate on other two methods. So if you could solve, very good. Otherwise, I have solved it for you. So based on labor hours, you will get 3432, and based on machine hour, you will get 1,500. Now prepare a table. First column will be your method. So method will be on material consumption, direct wage, labor hour, and machinery hour. On the second column, you write all these values. This is third type of overhead problem. I will briefly touch upon the secondary overhead distribution. So what is secondary distribution? We already learned the overhead apportioned to service department has to go to production department. That process is called secondary distribution. In this process, there are two types of method. One is reciprocal, second is non-reciprocal. You have, let's take P1, P2, P3, S1, S2. So primary overhead, you will get some amount. So this is your primary distribution. In the secondary distribution, what happens? These two will be reapportioned or redistributed. This is secondary distribution. When this happens in multiple steps, so it is called as a reciprocal. So you have repeated distribution in simultaneous equation method, trial and error. In the non-reciprocal method, you have direct distribution. So that means they will give percentage or step distribution. We will see one of the problems. This is another type of problem where you have to do secondary distribution. So pause for a moment and read the problem carefully. In such problem, if you notice, you already have overhead in the primary distribution. So these values are all the apportionment after primary distribution. After that, if you see, there is some percentage given. So this is the basis for your secondary distribution. First, you write the proper format. So I write the table like this. On columns, I have 3 XYZ, which are the production departments, and also A and B, which are the service departments. In the first, you write whatever is directly given, which is the overhead after primary distribution. 6,500, 5,400, 4,200, 3,600, 2,500. Now you have to take one of the service department in the first pass. So I will take A, and I will also write what is the percentage basis of distribution of A. So basis for A is 40%, 25%, 20%. A to A is always 0. Then A to B is 15%. That means one service department is also giving service to another service department. For example, canteen. Canteen may be giving service to training department. So that is the case. Now my job is to multiply this amount with these percentages. That means 3,600 into 40%, I will get 1,440. Likewise, I will also calculate for all other departments. When it comes to A, I have to minus this 3,600. Now I have calculated for all departments. Next step is I have to total this. Now I have totaled, I have taken what was earlier available and what was apportioned from A. Both I have totaled and I got 7,940. Likewise, I have also calculated for other departments. In the second pass, what I will do, I will take B. I will take this value and I will also write the percentages as given for B. Now I will multiply 3040 for A into 25%. I will get 760 and I will total it again. 760 and 7940. I will get 8700. Similarly, I will do for all other departments. Now I have calculated apportionment of B based on the basis of B to all other departments. So this is one cycle. If you observe, after one cycle, we started from here and this is the second step, this is the third step. What is happening? The values in X, Y, Z are increasing, whereas the values in A and B are reduced. You have to do this until you will get both in A and B 0 or closer to 0. So that means this one cycle, maybe you will have to repeat it 4 times. So after every cycle, X, Y, Z will slightly increase, A and B will slightly go towards 0. So I request all of you to solve it on your own. I am flashing the answer here. So after 3 passes, I am getting A and B closer to 0, right? And X, Y, Z, I have got more than these original values. So that means the secondary distribution I have done through repeated distribution method. The same problem can also be asked as a simultaneous equation method. So using simultaneous equation method, now we will solve. Now let us solve the same problem using simultaneous equation method. For this, you should know simultaneous equations and you have to form simultaneous equation. How to form in this table? So I will get 2 sets of simultaneous equation. One set comes from this data, second comes from this data. So now I will write first simultaneous equation, which is A is equal to 3600 plus 10% of B. Similarly, I will write second simultaneous equation, which is B is equal to 2500 plus 15% of A. So these simultaneous equation has to be solved for either for A or B. Then using that data we can find the other unknown. Let us start. What you can do, in the place of B you can substitute the second equation. So this is first, this is second equation. When I do that, what happens to the first equation? A is equal to 3600 plus 10% of 2500 plus 15% of A. So this is what the equation you will get. Simplify this equation, you will get A is equal to 3600 plus 2500 plus 0.015 A. Let us take this A on the other side. What you will get? 0.985 A is equal to 3850. A is equal to 3850 divided by 0.98. A you will get 3908.6. So let us round it off. Let's make it as 3089. So substitute value of A in the equation B. So B you will get 2500 plus 15% of 3909. If you solve for B, you will get B is equal to 3086. Now you note down these two values. These are very important. Let us go back to the table and let us draw the table first. So there is no change in the format of the table. Same, you have 3 columns for production, 2 columns for service. In the first row, wherever you are writing primary distribution, there is a slight change. So you will write 6500, no change, 5400, no change, 4200, no change. But A and B, now you will write whatever you have just found out. A is equal to 3909 and B is equal to 3086. Now you know the percentage of distribution for secondary distribution. They are given here. Now apply this together. So first I will apply for A. So for A, 25% of 3909 goes to X. So here it is 40%, 25, 20, nothing here. And so when I apply, I will have to multiply the corresponding values for each column. So 3909 multiplied by 0.4 is equal to 1563.6. Similarly, I will calculate for all other departments. Once I am done with A, I will not total it here. I will also do the same thing for B. So first I will write the percentage as given for B, 25%, 30%, 35%, 10%, and now I have calculated for B also. Now you have to add each column. So you have to take this value, then this value and this value. Like this you have to add for each department. When it comes to service department A, the original value of service department A was 3600. So you add that. Similarly for B it was 2500. So for A, B you have to add these 3 rows. When you do this, these two will become 0 or near 0. And if you calculate the values for X, Y, Z, they will be as similar as what you got using repeated distribution. Now I will calculate. I have calculated the total for X, Y and Z. These values, you do it through simultaneous equation method or repeated distribution method, you will get the same answers. So this is all about simultaneous equation method. You can either get primary or secondary or both. So if you get one of them, it will be around 5 to 7 marks. If you get both, it will be around 10 marks. Now I have a problem on overhead distribution for primary and secondary. Okay, you take this as a homework, try to solve it on your own. If you solve this one problem, you will get confidence to solve any overhead distribution problem in the examination. After solving this, I will upload the link where I have discussed the answers for this in the description below. So you can go and check out your answers. What are the details given? Here you have all the overhead expenses. Here you have all the basis. So this is required for your primary distribution. At the bottom of the statement, there is a detail given. This is for secondary distribution. So try it on your own and check the link in the description for answers of this question. Next, you have another question. So pause here for a minute, read the statement, then we will discuss the problem. Okay, what the problem states, there are 5 machines in a department and there are X and Y cost for the department. What should be the recovery rate, overhead rate for this particular machine? So how to address? So first you have to calculate all the cost overhead apportioned to this machine, that will be in the numerator. In the denominator, you should have number of hours of that machine. You will calculate overhead rate. First, we'll prepare a small table to compute total overhead cost of this machine. So what are the cost of the department? So cost of the machine is given. Directly we cannot take. This is given for depreciation purpose. Next, you have power consumed. This is another cost detail. Then you have 5200 sundry charges. Then you have oil, etc. 600 per annum. Other expenses 9400, 1050, 5000. So all these information are given. Let us record all of this first. So I have written all the cost and also on what basis. First one is depreciation. On 20,000 rupees, you have to depreciate at 7.5% per annum. So that will be per year, it will come 1500. Power, it is directly given 3000 per annum. Hence, we will write direct charge, which is 3000. Repair and maintenance, 50 to 100 rupees for the life of that. So the life is 13 years. Hence, 50 to 100 divided by 13 years. Per year, we will get 400 rupees. That is written here. Sundry, that is given directly 600 per annum. Next, rent and rates 9000 and basis for rent is area. So it is given in the first two statements. Space of the department is 10,000. Space occupied by the machine is 2000 square feet. That means 1/5 will be charged. 1/5 will be charged to this. 9000 into or divided by 5 is equal to 1800. Next, overhead is light. It has to be apportioned according to workers employed. There are 16 workers in the department. 4 attend to the machine. So 4 divided by 16 is apportioned here. Light will be 100 rupees. Next, supervision effort. It is given that for this machine, degree of supervision required is 2/5. Hence, supervision 2/5 of 1250 is 500 rupees. Other, it is not given. Let us take area. Area is 1/5. Hence, 5000 divided by 5 is 1000. So, if you total all of this, you will get overhead amount apportioned to this particular machine. So, overhead total is 8900. Total hours, it is already given in this problem statement, which is 2000 normal hours. So if you divide this by this, you will get 4.45, this is rupees per hour. So this is a direct problem, but there can be a twist in this problem. Whenever they are mentioning the total hours, it can be given generally there is an idle hour of 200. This is general, it is accepted. So you have to subtract that general accepted idle hours and then arrive at normal hours of operations. So that is a twist. This kind of problem will get you somewhere around 7 marks, because you also have to apply your concept of basis, then you have to compute total overhead cost, then you have to arrive at the overhead rate. Here we have another type of overhead problem. Here you have to apply your understanding of overhead accounting. So pause here, read the problem statement for a minute, then we will solve the problem together. So in this problem, first you have to find out what is the under-absorbed or under-recovered overhead. The formula for under-recovered overhead is equal to actual overhead minus recovered overhead. Actual overhead is actually given in the equation in the problem statement, which is 80,000. But this 80,000 has to be adjusted. Why? Of this amount, 15,000 was payable due to award of labor code. That means this is not part of overhead. Also 5,000 was with respect to previous year. So this is also not relevant here. So I will subtract 20,000 from here. I will get 60,000. So this is actual overhead. What is recovered overhead? It is said that it is recovered on the basis of 5 per machine hour. So this is important. For recovery or absorption, we need machine hour rate and actual hours. So these two are given. So 10,000 into 5 per hour, I will get 50,000. So this difference is the under recovered overhead or unabsorbed overhead. This is the first part of the problem. What is the second part of the problem? What is the treatment for this? So now you have to look for why this happened. What are the reasons? On analyzing the reason, it was found that 60% of under-absorbed overhead was due to defective planning. 60% of 10,000 defective planning. If this is the cause, the treatment is charged to costing P&L. So 6,000 is charged to costing P&L. What happened to the rest 40%? So these are charged to production using supplementary overhead rate. So what is the supplementary overhead? Supplementary overhead rate is unabsorbed overhead divided by how many units were produced? 40,000 units. So 0.25 per unit. How many units produced? 40,000. Out of that, 30,000 were sold. That means 10,000 are in FG. So 30,000 sold. So cost of sales will get 0.25. Then 10,000 is in FG. So this will be in COGS. So this is the treatment for this supplementary overhead. So students, that's all. I have tried to solve 5 to 6 types of overhead problem. Go through them and practice rigorously. You will definitely get 7 marks through overhead. So that is guaranteed. Let's see in the next class on the next topic. So thank you for watching. If you are liking this video, please like and subscribe.